Hello, Facebook, and welcome to another episode of the Radio Masterclass by me, Wes Malik. I work for City FM 89. I host the Rush Hour there. I've been on radio for approximately 20 years. And through this masterclass, I would like to give back to the radio broadcasting industry what I have learned from it. Now, today's episode is going to be a very heavy episode, so there's a lot of things to take in. And in fact, today's episode will be divided into two parts. Part one, right now that you're watching, is going to be about technical skills, and this is for people who want to enter the radio industry, amateurs, and broadcast professionals as well. Part two will be phone skills and phone handling skills, and we will stop the video and then move on to the second live video. So starting off, every radio show that you do or you will do in the future starts with a little bit of math. Now, what kind of math do you need to do? The first math you need to do is figure out how long your radio show is. Now, once you know how long your radio show is, for example, your radio show is 3 hours or 2 hours long, then what you need to do is understand how many commercials and at what time you have and what breaks you have. So you have to calculate how many minutes of commercials you have. Now you will calculate how many minutes of songs you're going to be playing, and then you will minus that from the total time of your show. Adding these two components, minus that from the total amount of your show, will leave you with the talk time on how many minutes you can spend on each link that you want to introducing your song or talking about your your show prep or whatever you're going to be talking about on radio. So every show starts with mathematics, and I start with every show with mathematics as well. I always do this calculation. The first thing I know how long my show is, so the first thing I do is I calculate the amount of ad times. For instance, today we have an hour and 22 minutes. That left me with an hour and 30 minutes of left of playlist, and that left me with about 8 minutes of talk time spread over 3 hours. Well, it wasn't like that. It was more like about an hour and 20 minutes of music and about 12 to 15 minutes of talk time on average for me. For you, it will be different because everything is different, but you need to start with this math. Okay. Secondly, every radio show that you do intend to broadcast, even if you do a demo, listen to yourself. Listen to a recording of your own show. I do that all the time. I do that every day. Every single day I listen to a little bit of my own show after it's been done. And I have a record of every single show since 2006 onwards. Every single show I've done, I have a record of. You should keep a record of it, and there's no better critic or worse critic than you yourself of your own show. So I would suggest that you listen to your own show regularly, on a daily basis, in fact, if you can. Today on technical skills, if you don't understand anything or you want to ask me questions, feel free to do so. I'll be watching the comments on my laptop here, and I will answer all your questions at the end of this little masterclass. Every radio host requires technical skills to be able to host a radio show. And those technical skills I'll, list briefly for you. Number one, you must have computer skills, PC skills. You must know how to operate a computer. You must know a little bit about technology such as email, accessing the internet, accessing audio players, and accessing any type of software that your radio station must be providing. It's very basic. 99% of you have those skills, but it's important that you have that basic skill. Skill number two, every radio station has a virtual or a physical board, panel, a mixer. That there are different terminology. It's also called a DAW, a desktop audio workstation. All these different terminologies mean your console or your broadcast panel from where everything is attached. Your microphone is attached to it. Your computers are attached to it. A cassette player is attached to it. A CD player is attached to it. A hybrid is attached to it. A recorder delay machine is attached to it, and that's where all these sounds are mixed in. Your voice, the music, the backgrounds, all these things are mixed in. And you need to know how to use the board. How do you get Experience on this, if you are not in radio already, well, mixers aren't that expensive, and you can get a setup for about maybe 10,000 to about 15,000 rupees. With a microphone, it might cost you a little bit more, and you could practice at home. A board consists of 6 to 8 to 12 to maybe even 24 what we call faders, and there are on-off switches which control the volume of your microphone and your music and your background music and all those other things. You'll have a fader for you. You'll have a fader for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other microphones. You'll have fader for audio inputs like PC1, PC2, or etc., or CD player, and they'll all be labeled, and you must have experience on that. It's the mastery of the board which actually makes you a good DJ or makes you a good radio host. Knowing when to fade up, fade down, these are basic skills you need to master, and every radio jockey has them. And it's not daunting, and you should not be afraid of a panel. It's super, super easy to understand, and it's super, super simple. It's just on-off switches, and you just need to get the timing right when you're talking, and you must know how to use, the levels, and just click on the buttons, and that's about it. There are many tutorials about the broadcasting panel that you're going to be using on YouTube. For instance, we use Italian mixers at City FM 89, and there are several Italian videos and English videos which tell you how to use that particular mixer or board. And we won't get into all the companies, but just look at the company name of your board, go on YouTube, click on this board, and just type it in, search for it, and you'll find a tutorial. And it'll be very easy to follow along to those tutorials, okay? The next set of skills you require are basic knowledge of microphones. You need to know what kind of microphone you're dealing with. On radio, you'll be dealing with two types of microphones. One is called a dynamic microphone. A dynamic microphone is a microphone which only picks up sound very close to it and in a very straight pattern. Meaning that if you have I should have brought my microphone. If you have your microphone here and it's pointed towards you, you must speak into it. If you move your head away from it, it will lose your audio. The second type of microphone that will be at your radio station is called a condenser microphone, also called a cardioid condenser microphone. And that will have a different type of polar pattern or a pickup pattern. And that will be able to pick up your voice in a circle around the microphone like that. And you'll be able to move a little bit more. Usually good radio stations have one condenser microphone for the main RJ and then dynamic microphones for guests because dynamic microphones are more forgiving. Condenser microphones require a better orator or a better narrator because you can't be too loud to it, you can be soft to it, you can't get too close to it, and there's more plosives like pops on P's and B's that you'll have to be concerned about. For more information, again, use Google and find some YouTube. If you've got a certain type of microphone like an Audio-Technica AT2020, or you've got Sennheisers, or if you've got Rhodes, or if you've got Shure microphones in your studio, just look up how to use those microphones on YouTube. That's the best advice I can give you in this masterclass. Now, one thing which is overlooked after having these skills, these technical skills, is one thing that I strongly believe in, and that is that a good RJ, a good broadcaster, must have audio editing skills and audio production skills. For that, you'll need to actually go through an internet course or get a course or learn this yourself. Broadcasters such as me didn't have the opportunity like internet courses, so we had to learn it ourselves in the early 2000s. Whenever the software came out, software comes with help guides, and I read all the help guides I could on SoundForge and Adobe Audition and Audacity, and I learned how to edit audio and produce audio and master audio. I myself actually make commercials and make large packages for documentaries and stuff, and we do a lot of mixing and mastering for international clients as well. And you can too. And here's what I suggest, that you start with a free program called Audacity, Audicity. Audacity is a free program Many millions of people use it around the world, and that's the best place to start to get audio editing skills. Record stuff, learn how to delete things, learn how to normalize audio, know how to use, filters, dynamic equalizers, noise reducers properly, and it should take you maybe several weeks to about a month or so, and you could become a pro at audio editing. Just briefly, if you're in radio broadcasting, you must know the different types of audio formats as well. And there are hundreds of types of audio formats. In fact, over 24 used commercially. But in Pakistan, we are very well versed with 2. And your clients and your radio broadcaster will know these very well. One is a wave format, which is your pure audios, like CD, okay? They're very heavy files and they're perfect audio files. The second is MP3, something that you already know because you listen to MP3 songs, right? They're a compressed form of wave files which take less space but have a worse quality. Now, breaking down MP3s, you'll have many different types of quality of MP3s which are measured in kilobits per second. You'll have, for example, 320, which is awesome, 256, which is CD quality, 128, which is perfect broadcast quality, and then 96 and 64. Anything below that will sound very different to you, tinny and compressed, and you're always supposed to keep it above 128 songs and your voice. So this is a skill, a technical skill you must master. Use Audacity. There are other programs like ProLogic. One favorite of the broadcasting industry is Adobe Audition and SoundForge. If you can get a copy of Adobe Audition, you have to pay monthly for Adobe CC, and I do not suggest that you get pirated software. Do not pirate your software, okay? Buy the software. And if you can't buy the software, get free software. For Windows PC, there's Audacity. For if you have a MacBook or if you have if you have a MacBook or a Mac Mini or iMac or whatever, use something called Ocean Audio. OCEN Audio. OCEN Audio. That's Ocean Audio. Okay? Secondly, there's audio editing software for your phone and your iPad as well. I do a lot of recording on my iPad, and I use something called a Apogee Meta Recorder. It's only for recording software. It's perfect. It's amazing. It's got built-in features to share audio via email and Dropbox and everything. And I use my iPad and I do a lot of editing on that because iPads are silent and you don't want fan noise while you're doing a voiceover. So I use that. And I have all that Meta Recorder software on my phones, on all my phones as well. And I also use something called Logic Remote. And one thing which you should be using is called it's called Twisted Wave. Sorry about that. I kind of forgot the name. So I use Twisted Wave on my phone and my iPad to do audio editing, and I'll show you. This is what it looks like. Okay. All right. And I can do anything you can on a PC or Mac, you can do on your phone. Technology is very good. Twisted Wave is free. I also use a paid software called Logic Remote and a paid software called Meta Recorder. I'll answer your questions at the end in several moments, okay? I see there are a couple of questions and I'll get to them in just a sec. Editing audio is very important during your live broadcast and for recorded broadcasts and becoming a voiceover artist as well, because you need to know how to record your voice, treat your voice, and then present your voice on air through the board panel, etc. These are the technical skills you will require to become a good DJ or become a good RJ. This audio editing and production skills is one skill which is missing in 80%, 90% of DJs. And those DJs who do have, like those 10% of DJs who do have audio editing skills, become very good voice actors, and then they make more money and their shows sound a whole lot better as well. Trust me on this one. Ask any DJ on the street. Ask them if do you have audio editing skills to a basic or a professional level or not, and you'll know about their success as well. You know. Okay, so that being done, um, you should also have knowledge of how radio works. AM radio, FM radio, how a transmitter works, how an antenna works, how your board and all your technology combined in a radio station combines together to actually reach somebody's car or somebody's home or through the internet. You must know about, UHF and VHF, and you must pick up a book from a library or the internet or look at, a YouTube tutorial of how a radio station actually works and how all those technologies combined, actually transmit the sound. You also need to know how streaming internet works as well, okay? How you have to be able to use an IP address and a streaming server, and how to encode and decode streaming software. You need to know about streaming software. This is highly technical stuff, which only tech departments and people in radio technical departments and IT departments know of. I know of maybe a handful of RJs in Pakistan. Like, for instance, Azhar Hussain knows exactly what I'm talking about. And then there will be a lot of other RJs who are clueless about how streaming on internet radio works. It's very easy and it's very complicated as well. Learn about it. If you it would take me hours and hours to teach you about it. It's better that you look it up on Wikipedia, on Google, and all these things yourself, because you'll need to take the time out and actually learn this stuff, okay? And it will help you. It will help you. Okay. So at the end of the masterclass, I am now going to take your questions on Facebook. So please leave your questions. I'm going to answer your questions. The first question comes to us from our very own RJ on City FM 89. He hosts a show on Saturday nights called Loose Cannons. His name is Zishan Shah, and he asks, what are the basics of engaging audience response on radio? Activities, techniques, audience response. You don't know who is listening and how many people are listening to you unless it is an internet stream, and where you can gauge how many people have logged on to your stream. You do not know how many people are listening to an FM signal. It's one way. Radio signals are one way. As soon as they're sent out, they reach you, and then they bounce off the earth and they go off into space for billions and billions of light years. And you don't know, there's no way of gauging a response of how many people are listening to FM radio. But there is a way of gauging response on activities and techniques that you have, Zishan, on your radio show. Number one is the amount of SMSs you receive. Whenever you ask a question, if you're receiving 10, 20, 30, you know that there are 30, 40, 50 people listening to you and your audience. The second is phone calls. But it only gives a very small subset of how many people are listening to you, because only people who are actively engaged will bother to text you or give you a phone call, right? So there could be 100,000 people listening to you and only maybe 100 people wanting to text you. They're called silent listeners. So again, it's a very tricky audience. Now, the basics of engaging the audience is very simple. The only way you can engage your audience is to speak about something that is relevant to them, okay? If you're going to talk about something which is not relevant to them, then you will not engage the audience. If you talk about something which is relevant to them and their lives and affects their lives, only then can you engage them in a conversation. अगर मैं कोई अपनी बात करूं या कोई चांद की बात करूं तो शायद कोई सुनेगा नहीं क्योंकि मैं रेलेवेंट नहीं हूं और इस वक्त चांद रेलेवेंट नहीं है. इस वक्त आपको पता है कि क्या रेलेवेंट है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, मैं आपको एक एग्जाम्पल देता हूं कि कराची के कल रात के ब्लैकआउट्स, आप अगर रेडियो पे कहें ओ यार उफ, नींद ही नहीं आई रात को, यू विल एंगेज समबody, क्योंकि एक और जो आपको सुन रहा होगा कराची में वो कहेगा हाँ यार मेरी भी यही कोई हालत थी रात को, परेशानी की है जो भी है. You have now engaged, you have now connected with the audience. So relevance, जो आप बात करते हैं क्या वो relevant है आपके listener के लिए उस वक्त, क्योंकि relevancy changes with time as well. ठीक है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल आप एग्जाम्स की बात करते हैं और कुछ बच्चों के उस वक्त से एग्जाम्स हो रहे हैं, सो यू गोना बी रेलेवेंट टू देम. So this is the key and this is my answer. So let's take a look at your questions. Okay, let me recap very quickly before I get to your questions. Number one, every radio show starts with math. You have to do the math of how long your commercials are, how long your songs are going to be, how much you're going to talk. Three things. You have to calculate that in terms of time. Number two, अपने डेमो या अपने रेडियो शो जो आप कर रहे हैं, अगर आप रेडियो में नहीं हैं, do a radio show for yourself, listen to it. अगर आप रेडियो में हैं, listen to yourself every day. You are your best and worst critic. You need PC skills, email, internet, WhatsApp, SMS, you need to know how to use those. You need board operating skills. आपका panel, आपका mixer, you need to know how to use that. Mic skills, audio editing skills, Audacity, Ocean Audio, Twisted Wave. You can download these for free. Production skills also and audio formats, you need to know those. You need to have knowledge of transmitters and how FM works and how streaming works like internet radio. Okay, let's get to your questions. Okay. Hello, Nasrullah. How you doing? Sayyid Usman Ahmed. This is a colleague of mine from FM 101. Assalamu alaikum, Yar. Thank you very much for tuning in. They're on Play Store. Yes, they're on Play Store. You remind me of Al Pacino. Thank you, Iman. I am Al Pacino. Any trusted sites to download these softwares? Yes. Audacity has its own server. Ocean Audio has its own website. Twisted Wave comes from Play Store or Google Store. ठीक है? Okay, on the top of recording, how do you choose the mic? What do you use? For radio broadcasting, I like to use a condenser microphone. A condenser microphone will cost you anywhere from 30,000 to 300,000 rupees. On average, a good one will cost anywhere from 50,000 to 100,000 rupees. I try to use a good one. The personal one I like using is a Rode NT1. We also use cheaper ones like Behringer B1s in our studios. We also have Behringer C classes as well in Lahore studios. In Karachi studio in City FM India, we use a dynamic microphone. That is also a good microphone for radio. A microphone will suit you, okay? And a board will have different settings for your microphone. We use something called DSP, digital signal processing. We have a digital signal processor which can change the way our voice sounds according to the microphone we have on our board. Your board might have treble, mid, and bass, like a little equalization as well, right? So you might want to play with those. But getting it back to your question, Sayyid Usman Ahmed, about what kind of microphone you want to use, if you have a completely silent radio booth, then a condenser microphone is perfect. It'll pick up the bass in your voice. And for a pro like you, that's what you need to use. If you're just starting out, I don't recommend a condenser microphone. I recommend a dynamic microphone. They're cheaper. 8,000, 10,000, 15,000 से लेके 35,000 रुपए तक का अच्छा dynamic microphone मिल जाता है. In fact, you can also get an iRig dynamic microphone which will plug into your phone and you can record straight to your phone as well without an audio device in the middle like I use an Apogee, okay? If you are a musician and if you have a guest, jo anadi hai, doesn't, use dynamic microphones. That's how you select the microphones. We always use a condenser microphone for the RJ, always use dynamic microphones for our guests, always. Very important because they will blast the microphone and they will sound bad on a condenser microphone. You need to make sure that your internal volume is consistent on condensers. Okay, thank you very much, Mehboob. Wes, Bhai, how do you introduce yourself to platforms like FM 89 and others if you have skills? Just see how good you are. Any tips on that? Um, in the first episode of Masterclass, we talked about making a demo. I said I think you should watch that. You should create a demo and email it to them, and find out all the program managers and who hires at all the radio stations and send your demo to them. So good luck to that. Now, today's masterclass also includes a topic of how to handle phone calls. And we will do that in the next masterclass, which is going to start in about 5 minutes. I'm going to take a quick break, stop this recording, and restart it for our second part of our masterclass. Do join in.